Well, I'm here now. So yeah. Okay, tonight I'm gonna be streaming myself playing Hylics, which is not something you probably ever thought I would be doing. I never thought I'd be doing it because only up till a couple months ago I didn't even know about the game, but it um, was it was pretty exciting actually. Discovering it. I'm not a fan of RPGs, but it as soon as I saw footage from it, I saw what the gameplay was like, the whole look of it, the way it was constructed. I think I was really won over, and I was just kind of like watching people play it, looking at stuff, um, and eventually it kind of got to the point where I'm like, all right, I need to play this. So, um, all right, just wait a little bit. This painting that you see right now, this is a painting by um, the late Dado Miodrag Jurek, who I did a video about a couple years ago, actually a few years ago now. Is maybe my favorite painter, one of my favorites, and I guess for this streaming Hylics, which I'll get to the game proper in a second, but it seemed pretty appropriate. Dado's stuff often seems like these just weird amalgams of clay-like flesh, which, you know, with Hylics you've got that sort of thing. So, yeah, why don't we get to that? I'm going to be playing a game, just yeah, I'm going to be playing this, just see how far I can get tonight. I don't, think I'm going to finish the whole thing, but we'll see. Let me just make sure everything's working properly. We got it all right. Sounds good. A tyranny mercifully tethers the products the people hoist out of a vent. It is a gland far beyond a mutant microcosm. It is a sort of season with engine. Meanwhile, Gibby, king of the moon, kind of sniffs a color inside the domicile Dune. Thus, your story begins. I will say that's the thing about this that drew me to it, is just the clay. It's alive. It's the way I like when I would see clay animation as a kid. It was uncanny. It seemed arcane, like something arcane being applied to, like, inanimate substances. Hey there. Oh, nice. Yeah, this is one of my new favorite games, I should say, because I played it once, but it's one of those things you get into it, and it's kind of enrapturing. All right, so yeah, if I remember, I have beat this game before, and it's pretty like straightforward coming back to it. $30. Maybe you should bathe. Oh yeah. Yeah, when I had yeah, it's definitely something I'll probably be returning to multiple times. Just and it'll yield a whole bunch of new things with each play. This is the kind of stuff where I was really won over by this aspect. Was just all the different kind of animation, all of these very abstracted and metaphysical things kind of being represented. Because when I play RPGs, or I've seen people play RPGs, a lot of times the attacks, at least when you're talking about like classic JRPG stuff, it's the attacks happen, and more often than not, there's some little extra animations, but not a lot of stuff to make you really have a palpable feeling of like something is happening, like this attack is doing something, this power or whatever. But in Hylics, it's like you use one of your gestures, and it's like all this stuff like is moving around and twisting and coming alive, and it just feels so tactile and whatnot that you're just like, you have this extra, I don't know, like kind of like sensory like input almost. Yeah. The northeast is the nodulous city of Mornwath. May its apparel endure 1,000 years. Ah, yes. Oh, we or yeah. His pets. In the trash can. Yeah, it's a thing about stop motion. There's something about stop motion that feels almost like alchemy or something like necromancy, because it's, like I said, these substances coming to life. And ever since I was a kid, like I had books with, clay characters and things and whatnot. And I just love all the clay tubing. Indeed, yes. Yeah, it's out of the clay and the earth. Found meat. The names for things in this game also, just the different gestures and stuff, it's really wild, and that also helps like paint this world as being totally alien. It's almost like you can almost smell the clay. You can almost just like breathe in this very foreign atmosphere. Oh, Peter Daniel Berg mentions I Spy Treasure Hunt. I had the I Spy Spooky Night PC game as a kid. By the way, I love like I Spy, but I still have all my I Spy books. I treat those almost as sacred texts. Those are so wonderful, and I spent so many hours looking at them as kids, and then just they kind of just became part of my mythos. Yeah, I Spy is fantastic, and I only played one of the games, but I know for a lot of people those are huge, like, core memories. This ladders, I always like that. The use of color and whatnot in this also is just, I don't know, nice. This ladder makes me think of this one Miro painting with the dog howling at the moon, I think it's called. And yeah, something like an I Spy book would be great to like see more iterations of that. But the photography though by Walter Wick was amazing. Really, it was so made those books. I mean, most of the time I didn't even look for the items. I just came up with my own kind of scenarios to go along with the pictures. Flesh stash, attack, then rest, then guard. Yeah, and this is the thing too. It's when I played Hylics, I never really. My experience with RPGs was Paper Mario and like a little bit of Pokemon as a kid. And I have Paper Mario still. I beat that a couple times. It's a very different kind of combat. And I just got bored with Pokemon. And it was just like, yeah, there wasn't anything else to really, I don't know. I kind of got tired with it, but with Hylics, I think part of the appeal is just the aesthetic experience of it, which is, there's nothing wrong with that at all. Armors raise maximum flesh points, and I think with Hylics, it was my introduction to just, some more or less basic RPG elements, and then the more I played it and, got used to it, and eventually I got, a friend of mine actually gifted Hylics 2 to me on Steam, which was very generous, which I played and beat, and I loved that too. That was where I really got into the combat. I think that was one of my favorite parts of the game. Bleak self, that stuff will be good to have, but I need more money. So now going through this game, I'm remembering all the little things that I missed or didn't know what to do with the first time. Hylics 2 was a lot of fun. Yeah, some of the platforming was a bit difficult in that. I would say that took up some time. Sometimes trying to land on the right thing and whatnot. Alright, let's see if I can dig up some more money. Oh yeah. That's too bad. Crush. I didn't even know I could crush the couch. Yeah, it kind of made me think of, as you mentioned, like it's a day at the beach. It makes me think of building those certain kind of like mud sand castles. Let's see if I can find any other. I can't remember if there's any other money lying around here because. But yeah, you can make those like drizzly like mud sand castles, and you get those real droopy structures. Empire of the Sun, with the J.G. Ballard book, the movie. Where am I going? I think actually I got to go up there where all the bad guys are, because that's where some of the money is lying around. Yeah, I was gonna say the music in Hylics also has so much of the flavor of it. Just this like it adds to the substance. I don't know how to describe it. It's just like Hylics is like this substance come to life. All these clays and things, and polymers and vague flesh. It's great. I love that stuff. I love that kind of like stuff. That's why I love the painter Dado and his weird, his conglomerations of organic beings. I spent my life searching for the paper cup. I have finally tracked it to these ruins. It is buried somewhere amidst the fallen monuments. Of course. Ah, you are a fellow artifact seeker, perhaps? If you can bring me the paper cup, I will be so unimaginably stoked. That's sometimes the dialogue in here is a little, like, cute, I'll say. I don't know how I feel about it. Pressing the space key. Oh yeah, that's right, I got a dream vision my way to finding it. Yeah, I'm all for more stop motion games, or games using stop motion assets. Oh, I think that's a button. Mm-hmm. Yep, so that's where I gotta find that array. I love this set. This is fantastic. I am the Sage of Brains. I grant you my token. They also give you tokens, for therein lies the path to enlightenment. Yeah, even like Wayne's face in this one is you know, more, I don't know, like archaic. There's something like the everything in here, because of its how crude, you know, it's made. Nuts. Oh well, you gotta die. This game is just, you know, it's gotta happen. And that's why I was trying to get the that cellophane stuff. Yeah, you're right. They are, yeah, they're definitely more metaphorical. In a sense, yeah, you're seeing just kind of these like artifacts moving around and whatnot. All right, Wayne was slain. Not the last time, I'm sure. And it's yeah, but it just, you know, the way this game feels in relation to the second one is very different and a little more rigid, a little more jerky. But I have a fondness for this one a lot. I think there's some of the vagueness, some of that element that gets smoothed over, not entirely in Hylics too, but yeah, not entirely, but you know, in a different way. I like sometimes the more cryptic hot dog. Those things are just really cool. Okay, this is great. I actually really love this part. It's just something about the different structures of the sandcastles like forming. There were definitely some PC games I played as a kid that had moments like this of like, yeah, I can't remember what it is. It's like right there in my mind's eye, but I can't remember what game it was. Also, this surf reminds me of the end of Evangelion. Who's this guy? Oh yeah. Dynamite it. Cairo by Richard Perrin, Peter Danielberg asks. I have not. I don't think I've heard about that one. Reminded me a lot of the Egyptian Book of the Dead. You know, I've been trying to find a copy to read the Egyptian Book of the Dead. I've been trying to go through some various mythological texts from different ancient cultures and stuff. That was one of the ones I want to get to. Calibration is nice. It's just so. It's like sometimes I just wish I could like just. It's so tactile. Just so many of the things going on in this game. You know, it's like almost edible. Kind of activates like that part of the brain. Yeah, I'm trying to do more streams, do some more of this stuff because. I think my days of doing a lot of video essays are over. I'm planning one longer one, but it's stuff that's just going to take a little while. And you know, there's plenty of stuff for me to talk about in stream. Oh wait, did I? Oh, no. Oh brother, I forgot to rest up in there. How am I gonna get this money? I still got extra money. I can at least buy the whatever cellophane, what it was called. And these are cool too. I like these elements that look. They're not clay, but they're drawn to look like that. But the very clear shading is it's a nice look. Most of this stream is probably going to be me gushing about the the style of the game, but yeah, no. I'm definitely not about making really long video essays. I think the longest one I did was the Sam Fuller retrospective, and that was because I had to cover every movie he directed. You know, when I want to make it like a talk about a movie or something, I did that whole 20th Century Gems series a couple years ago, and most of those videos were like around 2 minutes long. It was mainly just to like kind of get you interested in the film and then just leave it off there. And I might be doing some more of those. I started writing a couple more. I think that's just the best way sometimes to recommend a movie to somebody. A lot of times it's like you tell somebody to watch a movie or something, and you might have a screenshot or whatnot, but like I think when you have a little more context or some clips or something, it definitely helps sell it. And also, basically, I'm just getting out in a video covering all the different things that I want to talk about, and I've done a video essay on most topics that I would have wanted to cover by now. Dang. I am broke. Thanks, Trembling Colors. Yeah, I like it. I'll at least say I try to make sure that, you know, what I have to say is worth saying, or that I want to, you know, I'm gonna say what I say and then need to say and then, you know, back out, because yeah, you don't need a long video essay. I think, you know, it's really good to try and to be concise. That is I think that's a vanishing trait. I'm not familiar with George Dahl. Okay, yeah. His film journal. Okay, I'll check that out. That's interesting. Peter Dingelberg saying, saw a video that argued most Zoomer fiction is Gnostic and concerned with themes of illusion and escape. I haven't analyzed enough Zoomer fiction to draw a conclusion one way or the other, but from what I've seen, it's I don't know how much I've seen, so I'm not going to make any statement on that. Oh, okay. Trembling Colors says he does older movies like I used to do back in the day with the other guy being Joel, when we were doing the Cinemologists, which became Cinemology 101. Aha! Paper cup. Oh boy. Haha. At least I wasn't blinded. Hopefully my keyboard isn't being too intrusive. Hooray. Amid the lilies floats the moth, the mole along his galleries goeth in the dark earth. Yeah. Trembling Colors mentioning Gnosticism is certainly an underlying thing in a lot of fiction these days. What am I doing? Yeah, I'm not. I mean, that's not the one I wanted to do. Yeah, I'm not big on Gnosticism. I mean, I'm aware of it, but it's definitely more of the Christian worldview. More of the good creator rather than the evil demiurge. Let's see. And I'm also fundamentally against I guess the idea of and if I might be mistaken about this, but it seems Gnosticism's against the physical and more in terms of emphasizing the hold on a second. Okay. The spiritual is supposed to supersede that, and with Christianity, it's like God made the physical world and the spiritual world, and both are good because he made them, and so that's basically Jesus redeems that and with the resurrection you have the spirit and the body being resurrected together. So that's one reason I'm not going by the Gnostic worldview. But now that you mention it, you know, I can see some things in some Gnostic elements in a lot of current fiction, like you said, the liminal space stuff, and then even something like the amazing digital circus, like that fun, you know, he hinges around an evil, crazy, godlike figure trying to escape that. Alright. Oh wait, didn't I get the paper cup? Yeah, the cup, you found it. I am an expert in the usage of the paper cup. Please allow me to accompany you. One day we may come across another artifact from the old times, which will require the paper cup. Magnificent. I will guide you when the time comes. Wait, wasn't there a water cooler in here? Yeah. We can use the paper cup. The paper cup. What does that bring me to now? Alright, 54. Didasmoln. Is that 80? Alright, I'd say we could maybe do some damage. No. Oh gosh. These backgrounds, also for the battles, are very evocative. Just, you know, one of the things I like when I was growing up, I would see paintings like this, like modern art stuff, and this kind of reminds me of like Yves Tanguy, in a way. But oh, there we go again. What do we got? Yeah, that should, yeah. Right. Yeah, Peter Berg. Yeah, you can't keep up rebellion forever. It's not a healthy state to be in all the time. Yeah, but yeah, like with just these, when I would see modern art as a kid, I would like interpret it in a narrative way. That's just, I guess, like the way I would see things. But you know, I saw it reflected in a lot of like mid-century science fiction, like books and the TV shows and movies. So I kind of, as a kid, assumed, oh, is this like artists portraying, you know, some fantasy realm, some other world? And sometimes they might have thought of it, but not always. But I think as I got older, I got more disappointed with like the more like, I guess, some of the intent on some of these paintings. But yeah, but I think like stuff like this always fascinates me. It's like when I saw Barbarella when I was younger, and like all those, I was way more fascinated by the weird like design of the film than Jane Fonda, if you can believe it. No. Right. Yeah, I'm not gonna go through every enemy in here, but it's Timberland colors used to confuse Jorge Luis Borges and Philip Jose Farmer. Whew, yeah. Imagine going in for for Borges in some farmer, that would be a shock. I'm gonna get some items. Come back here and fight the flesh stash. Right, yeah, I think that was somebody mentioned, yeah, Hylic is a Gnostic term as well. Hey, Kaiju Master 200 times 3, 200 by 3. Fear, mystery, wonder, and subversion of past works concerning Gnosticism and cosmic horror especially is rendered null by a society no longer undergirded by Christianity. Yeah, that's interesting, yeah. Yeah, I would say it's about needing like awe and mystery and wonder. Like, I mean, the fear, mystery, wonder. You saying that, I don't know why it popped into my head, was the opening from The Outer Limits. It just I don't know, just like you said, like it, you know, our society is so shifted, so different now. It's kind of all materialism. Like, it's in a sense where, like, there were things that were in the public consciousness that informed, like, subconsciously, even like art, and something like The Outer Limits. The opening or just the tone of certain things had something otherworldly, like truly otherworldly, or just something that had some space for, like, the numinous, the otherworldly. Whereas now, when I watch certain things, it feels like it's very clinical when you are brought or shown, you know, otherworldly things. It might have like it might have a, you know, trying to aim for the same element of wonder, but there's something else missing there. Where you don't have, like, some of the proper, like, mystery or wonder. See, lucid blocks. Daniel Berg asks. Oh yeah, I haven't actually heard of lucid blocks. It's not a. Yeah, it's not something that's been on my radar. Have you ever seen the Italian 60s sci-fi movie called The Wild Wild Planet? It seems like something. Trembling Colors asked. No, I have not. Yeah, well, the Kaiju Master, people don't have the taste for numinous anymore. Well, that's something I would hope to remedy, or at least contribute to remedying that. Compare Excalibur to Peter Jackson's Lord of the Ring. That's interesting. That's a very interesting point. Yeah, because it's like, I enjoy the Lord of the Rings films. But then when I watch Excalibur, I don't know, I feel something very different, and I'm way more moved by the end. Like, it's different. Like, Lord of the Rings, you're moved because it's, you know, the characters and that emotional stuff. But in Excalibur, there's something bigger that's moving you by the end. It's like King Arthur, he will return, and it's like I get chills, you know, by that, because it echoes in creation. It echoes in, like, you know, heaven. Just, you know, the return of the king. Ironically, yeah. It's like, yeah. It's interesting. Yeah, Trembling Colors. It's a big Zoomer thing where everything must be explained and reiterated several times. They seem to actively want no mystery anywhere by the end of the movie. That's something that I have noticed, and I was thinking about that today, where it's like a mechanistic approach to fantasy, where we need to have a system, like if there's magic, we got to have a magic system. We got to have the unknown be like, documented and categorized, and you got to be able to like know the mechanics of it and how to interact with it, and so that kind of puts a lot of sterility into fantastic fiction now. Let's see, frozen burritos. Do I have any? Oh yeah, I have some. Oh gosh, definitely. I think some juice boxes. Yeah. Yeah, it's like the, some of the Trembling Color said, sadly, I think it's because a lot more people that are actually diagnosed are on the autism spectrum, so that affects the way fiction is presented. Yeah, I mean, I have Asperger's, and I've realized that, like, when I'm making stuff, it is, sometimes I do want to make a system. I want to make, like, lists and things, and I love lists and stuff but within that, I think in the actual storytelling, you have to like let go a little. You have to step back, from that. Organizationally, I like having like, I'm doing the Maze catalog, which is a comic series of like, hypothetically, it could be 100 mazes, and I've written descriptions for each one. But when I do the comic for each maze, there's a lot I'm just leaving up for interpretation, for just atmosphere. So yeah, I can only speak for myself on that, but Han Solo movie bothered to explain, put significance on the little dicey. Yeah, that's the thing. Now when you have a sequel or something, a prequel to like, some classic movie or franchise, there is, I'm just walking around doing it. It's we then have to like granularly explain certain things. It's like what Prometheus did, which I enjoyed some bits of Prometheus, but man, like just that kind of obsessive compulsion to compulsion to like fit the puzzle pieces together that didn't need fitting together. The more the years go on, the more I think I only really prefer the first Alien movie. That had a lot of impact for me, but like just the mood of it, and it's hard to imagine a world where that was new and fresh. Just one of my favorite tropes in science fiction, or fiction in general, but especially in fiction, is the derelict spacecraft. Like my favorite episode of Lost in Space is called The Derelict, and it's it's the haunted house idea, but '90s was the first decade for screenwriter worship, Kaiju Master says. Yeah, I could see that definitely with I guess like Tarantino and whatnot, but I also think that when you get like a generation of people who grew up on movies and whatnot, and they start making movies, it does become very reflexive. I'm not sure what the right word is. Pixar rejected the Pixar theory. Yeah, I guess that's very decent of them. Unfortunately, I haven't cared about a movie of theirs since guess Toy Story 3. Alright, let's see. What do we do? Attack. I see. Okay. Ooh. Again, these just wonderful, alive animations that make you feel like these moves and these magic things are just like more than just like text. You know, the Kaiju Master says MST3K and Red Letter Media also deserve some blame. Yeah, as much as I've enjoyed some MST3K and RLM like over the years, it did do a lot of damage to people's ability to interact with a movie, especially movies with like, you know, that looks cheaper or like, or older or had a certain tone. Gosh, I can't tell you how many times I've been at a I've been at a like a movie night with friends, and somebody will just go like they'll just start riffing, they'll just start making jokes during the movie, or like like comments like that, and sometimes that can be fun, but other times it almost became like this like compulsion. Trembling colors. Can't stand how old modern fantasy has a whole D&D tier magic system, and thus the book is a doorstep with a lot of explaining. Yeah, I mean, I even found that recently. I think my wife and I were watching Freyrun, and I just got so like numb to a lot of the magic fights, and like I'm so sick of sigil magic in things where it's like everything has like a little sigil with it. Everything is just like, you know, just nothing more than like one step above just like little holographic things. You couldn't even discern some of this stuff. Yeah, it was it's some of that stuff got tiresome, and jeez, it's really taken. I wish I could see this guy's health. Yeah, I never got into tabletop gaming. Yeah. Yeah, never got into tabletop gaming. I think if I gotten into it younger, I might have stuck with it, but it's one of those things that kind of looks cool. It's very involved, but I'm never going to really play it, probably. I have a couple games, and my dad has a couple of the Avalon Hill like war games, and those look really cool, but like you need a bunch of people, like friends and stuff, and some dedication, which it's in short supply lately. Yeah. All right. Am I gonna die? Oh no. My goodness. the chat is we're going to town on fantasies to tropes. Sigil stuff is just aesthetic that's played to death by beard oil guys and goth girls. Trembling colors said. Oh man. I don't know. I love a little more subtle magic. At least I don't know. It depends, but I did want to mention. I was gonna. Almost forgot this. The books of Charles Williams. If any of you have heard of Charles Williams, he was one of the Inklings. So he was like, friends with C.S. Lewis and Tolkien, and they met and wrote, and that attacked when I should have guarded. Charles Williams wrote some very strange books. They were like supernatural fiction, thrillers kind of, and they all hinge around some weird, element. So there's one book called War in Heaven, which is about the Holy Grail being found in this small church in the English countryside, and then these two kind of different powers fighting for it, essentially. And the way he describes supernatural magic things happening is unlike any other author I've ever read, because it's not described in like a scientific way. It's described in like, in a lot of sensory ways, but also just something that's happening, and suddenly, almost just like there's another book he wrote called the Greater Tropes, which has to do with the tarot. There's like this tarot deck that has like power over just like creating matter and things, and there's a scene where this guy is showing this girl like how to use it, or has her hands with the cards, and they're kind of moving their hands around back and forth, and like, before, like, you're just reading this and suddenly he talks about how like this dirt is just falling from between the cards, and it's so it happens so matter-of-factly, but it's also so like startling, and just stuff like that in those books. And I have a bunch of them, and I've just started reading them. They're very unique. I haven't read anything like Charles Williams. I don't think he's for everybody, but yeah, it's the premises of his books too are wild. There's like one where like kind of like Platonic ideals manifest and kind of wreak havoc, and yeah, really, really neat stuff. Oh yeah, the Space Trilogy is phenomenal. I'm due for a reread on that. What did I do with this? Yeah, I'm due for a reread on that, because can't do nothing. Because it's just one of those like books that really was foundational, I think, when I started getting way more into fantastic literature, and also just like writing fantastic stories. Just seeing Lewis's take on science fiction and fantasy. Whew. All right, this is gonna go a certain way. Nope. Yeah. Well, I could revive him now. No. But yeah, that hideous strength is pretty great. And Paralandra, I remember finishing reading that on like a warm spring evening, and I think I was like at a concert at the Philadelphia Orchestra. It was like a friend of mine who was performing in the chamber orchestra there, and I just remember finishing reading that book and it just putting this glow on the world, framing things in a way that just made everything like wonderful again. And I think that's there's no better compliment to a book's impact than that, I think. What happens? I wonder how much frozen burrito will do on him. Probably just wasted it. Well, that's that. Yeah, I've read some Jack Vance, and I read the Book of the New Sun and Earth of the New Sun, and I absolutely loved them. Book of the New Sun was Joel and I both read it at the same time, so we were. That's always good, especially when you're reading a book like that. To like have somebody read it at the same time, so you can kind of like ask like was this what I really thought? Was this what I think it was? I definitely recommend Book of the New Sun. But some people really chafe with Gene Wolfe's style, but his style is more just like a slow reveal. I found it interesting. I found it like compelling, and I didn't, I guess I was enjoying the world so much, that aspect that I didn't feel owed. Anything but that's a different bestial axe. This guy kind of almost seems out of place. Hello. Squish, squish indeed. We gotta find another paper cup. Yeah, there's so many moments in Book of the New Sun that were just very impressive. A lot of them involving some of the weird creatures, like the salamander, the El Zabo, but then also just when he's inside the House Absolute and just the strange things that he sees in there. All right. I have read The Nightland. I love it. I'm also going to reread that soon as well. It's despite the very verbose kind of arcane writing style in it. It doesn't take away from the just how sublime it is. That's really the best word for it, and it was quite moving too. Yeah, the Nightland is still like kind of just wow. Yeah, the Nightland would make a great game. It'd have to be kind of very like somber and just kind of like slow, just like kind of very moody. Yeah, when I was a kid, I read the Fifth Head of Cerberus in high school. I guess I was a kid, but I have this collection, World Treasury of Science Fiction. It's a book, and that has just all kinds of SF authors represented in it with their stories, and that's how I got introduced to a lot of different people. But Gene Wolfe, I read the story, and I guess I knew what I was getting into then with Book of the New Sun, because it is that kind of thing where you're reading it and then things are revealed and you're like, oh, okay, this totally reframes what I thought was going on, but not. It doesn't feel cheap. It just feels like you're getting a smaller portion of the like total view, which I enjoyed. I thought it was really. In fact, like when I was reading it, it was basically you think it's kind of like either on Earth or just like a normal, like things are described very normally, and you wind up like slowly like seeing details of like, oh, this person that is actually a robot, or their face is on a screen, so this casually dropped detail, and then it suddenly just like, oh wait, okay, so this is a more like futuristic setting. It also made me think of the film Robot Carnival, the anime anthology film. There's a segment in there called Presence, and it is really interesting because it's like a Victorian English looking setting, and then they just kind of nonchalantly introduce the fact that there are robots in it, and the setting is very interesting as well. That's a very good short. All right, let's see. I don't know how to go on. See if I can just find some other stuff. Oh yeah, can I get in? Oh no, that's right. Do not touch the ambulance skulls or you will die. Yeah. What is this place again? Initiate warp, make contact with the central. Oh yeah, that's right. Interesting. Okay. Trembling Color says, have you ever read any of the Go Tanabe manga adaptations of Lovecraft? I think you showed me one on a bookshelf tour, but I'm not sure. Oh, yeah, I have a bunch of his adaptations. They're the best visual adaptation of Lovecraft ever, and I think they should stay there, like in comics. I don't really. It's hard to say, but I don't think doing a lot of stuff on film, like in a movie, is the best way to go about adapting things, because at least in a comic you still have a bit of like removal. But I say Angel's Egg is Lovecraftian. Peter Berg asks, yeah, I don't know. It has a overarching, if you like, I guess if you want to say it's cosmic horror, it has an overarching like aspect of wherever these angels are, wherever they come from, and this huge like orb in the sky that, you know, there's a lot of questions in it, and I have to watch it again, but you know, my last impression of it is that, you know, there's just something unsettling kind of presiding over that world. You know what's interesting? Trembling Color says Lovecraft never works on film, but sometimes, but I wouldn't say this was totally successful, but I recently watched the movie Die Monster Die, which was an early adaptation of The Color Out of Space. It was a really, really weird. It was with Boris Karloff, and they kind of wanted to set it up like a Edgar Allan Poe adaptation, kind of like the Roger Corman ones. But this had a lot of other, like, you know, it had some interesting aspects to it. Except the dumb character played by Nick Adams, in it, he kept like saying like, I kept shooting down every notion of like these things being like demons or otherworldly. He's like, no, it's just science. These things came down from the the meteorites or something. It's like science, you fool. Like it's just like, I just wanted him to shut up. It's like this. It's like the mid-century. We're gonna dispense with all this hocus pocus stuff, and you know that can't be the actual thread in there. But there are some cool scenes in it. There was this really unsettling scene where they go into this barn, and there's like, very dimly too, there's these very weird looking like mutated animals in this locked away in this barn that the main characters kind of go past. So there was neat stuff, and it was padded for sure. They kind of dragged some stuff out, but it was an interesting one. Let's see. The other day I saw a mythology video, and arguing angels were initially inspired by vultures. I don't know what to say to that. It's, well, I'm gonna die. I love vultures. I think they're cool. They're very necessary. They get a bad rap, but they are very necessary. Trembling Colors. I'm not impressed with the failed Del Toro adaptation of At the Mountains of Madness. He adapted it to be basically a ripoff of The Thing from all I've seen and read about it. Yeah, no, I agree. I think I've always been glad that he never got to adapt it because I'm not a Del Toro fan. I think I've said this before, but I kind of find his stuff very, I don't know, like studio safe in a weird way, where he'll do a lot of like monsters and like transgressive stuff, but it's like it feels like it can be, it's very like kind of like, I don't know, digestible by that yeah, it feels like very marketable in a way. His stuff has kind of become its own brand, and I felt like it's like I don't want to root for the monster every time. Like, can we not go down this like path that he's kind of stuck on? So I guess that's. Oof. There we go. Yeah, I had no interest in his Frankenstein. What did he say? Peter Berg says, I think it'd be funny to see a mixed media approach to Color Out of Space where it's a 2D animated cartoon grappling with something that has like a felt texture, the texture out of space. Yeah, I've always thought, like, how would you do a movie? And I had the idea of like a black and white film, but the things affected by the color would be, you know, you would very rapidly kind of like apply like, you know, a process where just like color filters over certain things, but it's flipping through colors so fast that you can't get like a fix on just one color. So it you know, that would be the only thing. It'd be so subtle and like, but I just don't think people should adapt it. The one that they with Nicolas Cage, it looked so. I mean, of course they went with purple, the most vulgar choice you could have done, and they did it, and it looked like hack work, like the film, the director, all that. Where am I going? Let's see. I mean, I'm enjoying talking about this stuff too. My hands are on autopilot with Hylics, but that's okay. It's good background. I wish more robots were depicted as hyper-competent without human appetites instead of like Pinocchio, to be honest. Do you think Daddy could triple wield by holding a third phaser in his mouth? With Data triple wield by holding a third phaser in his mouth. I think if they adapt The Shadow over Innsmouth, more people than wouldn't be horrified by turning into a fish creature, but wish it happened to the... Yeah, you know that would happen. And they wouldn't make him that ugly, too. It would be like, you'd have the sexy, like, fish woman, and it would get... Yeah, it'd be a loss. It's... You know, you have a foretaste of that with Shape of Water. Kaiju Master, thank you for putting a very, very succinct point on that. Del Toro makes Oscar films for graphic novel readers. I mean, not to disparage like reading graphic novels. I make, you know, them, I love them, but I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Do we have any money? Yeah. Oh, but I need a bath. That's right, I didn't take a nap when I was in the afterlife. Yeah, I feel like people like really love like, I don't know, Del Toro's personality, or like that he's really into like the stuff they're into, but sometimes I don't really want a fan, you know, to like a fan's fan, or like making this stuff. I just want an artist. I just want somebody like, you know, who's not worrying about catering to all these different little like factions or, you know, whims of things. It's yeah, I don't know. It's just because, you know, you kind of share the same interests as the audience doesn't mean it's going to necessarily make for a good film. I think, like, I love David Lynch, and I don't know what his... I know some of the things he was really into, but it's you know, he was just concerned about, like, his own obsessions and stuff, and translating that into art. Mm-hmm. Trembling Colors, yeah. Del Toro holds a spot that Tim Burton used to hold before he became the definition of studio hack. Really, John Wick, the last original screenplay that launched a franchise. I don't. Yeah, I wouldn't even know. I let's see. Where am I going? This place, I always liked this place. It was just, I like the stark walls and the yeah, let's do it. Oh, yeah. Interesting. Trembling Color says Del Toro is what is Carney in wrestling circles would be called a mark. Professionals usually don't want another so-called professional fawning over stuff constantly. Yeah, I mean, like, you would think that would be a benefit or a good thing. Like, you know, he's one of us, like, doing this, but yeah, I think, I don't know, when it gets too fan-centric, when fans become the movie makers, then it becomes a little too referential. This is wild. A cat or a man? Peter Daniel Berg says, I'm generally a huge fan of non-humanoid aliens. Same. And that goes for monsters, too, because I guess I was just like, I never found things like King Kong or like Frankenstein all that interesting or scary, but like the movies themselves are cool, but like they weren't my favorite monsters. I was more into like some of the Ray Harryhausen stuff, or I always thought like something like The Blob was really cool, or The Giant Squid. Like that was one of my formative memories of seeing 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and like the squid coming up is, yeah. Or The Invisible Monster from Johnny Quest, which I was revisiting that recently, and I'm still astounded that was like a story on you know, that's something that Hanna-Barbera made, because it's so like wild. Oh yeah, I think I'm woefully under-equipped to face this part. Kaiju Master says the Krell is the best. Yeah, they're the best because they're anything you want them to be. Yeah, as long as they kind of fit in that door frame. What's it? Peter Berg says the Eridanians are so cool in Project Hail Mary. I haven't seen it. I'm not really into Andy Weir. His style is abrasive, but if there's a cool alien in it, I mean, I'll like at least look that up. Cause oh, I gotta fight this guy. Yeah, I should probably get some snow stuff before I face that. If bees learned how to build a beehive that could walk around. That's interesting, yeah. Speaking of Forbidden Planet, I'm planning to do a stream at one point where I go into just the making of Forbidden Planet. I'm like trying to do like a loose commentary, where it's not really like, you know, you could sync it up to the movie, but I would, you know, maybe present some images and things and talk about the making of the film, because that's one of the other things that I was like really disappointed with, and that there was never an audio commentary for Forbidden Planet. And there's a lot of information that you can dig up, like to do one. Chat, Shinbi, get in the robot. This area is just very, very strange, very, very interesting. And it just keeps going. Oh. Duh. So here I am on this island. Oh, yep. I think this is some snow soda. Yeah. Oh, hey, Wayne. I left my magic gauntlets in the basement. Now it's infested with ambulance skulls. Maybe you could help retrieve them? I mean, the gauntlets, we should avoid the skulls. Yeah. Join your crew. And we got a TV, which... you know what? It's only a toilet. I think there's a back way It's empty. It's all empty. Yeah, just gonna say, Sam Snows is my favorite character probably too. Am I stuck? Good lord. Yeah, indeed. Oh, is the cat blocking? Alright, let's see what... I was thinking if I could draw, like... I'd like to adapt the Phantom Creeps serial and make it actually cool. The robot in it is too good for that serial. I've been trying to find information on the Philips LDK 25B broadcast camera, specifically an internal diagram so I can simulate its optical stack in Blender. Well, I don't know what that is, but it sounds cool. Well, as soon as this cat decides to move, we'll be on our way. Oh my gosh. Peter Berg says, I've been cat-locked. Oh shoot, now I got back in there. I wonder if this was intentional. Yeah, I thought of doing like a, doing some fan art of Sam Snosa at some point. I like the fact that she has like a skull helmet. Also, she's the most human-looking character, so that's probably also why she's, yeah, I think had a little more connection. Is that the same Silk Song cosplay? Familiar. Trembling Colors. I think I know which one you mean. The Japanese camera, or the camera that anyone outside of Japan can repair. Yeah, where you get this very, just very smooth image, and you have these it's too bad you can't perish in this this Hylics, because this would be a great time for that. Let's see. Yeah, some of the early video camera stuff is very interesting. Oh, thank God. The video camera stuff is, especially when you get these like the burn-ins and the little like comet trails that happen with that, from like when there's like kind of like peak brightness in an area and it trails around. Similarly, other kinds of cameras, if you can physically model them, that's awesome. Used box was found. That's good. Right, I'm gonna try and go the back way. Ah. Oh. Don't worry, I'm gonna. Because I think. Oh, there's one. Oh my gosh, yeah, I can. There they are. Yeah. Happy birthday. I guess I can follow you for a while and help with battling and stuff. Awesome. I will be back in just 1 second. I'm going to turn the AC on. Trembling Colors says, yeah, early digital cameras had a unique look. There's a post going around X and IG of a Japanese model doing a shoot on some railroad tracks filmed with a Nintendo DS. And nice of Gibby to invite us over for a picnic, eh, Samsnosa? Hope he made lots of burritos. And I should also mention that after I discovered Hylics, I started toying around with the idea of one day doing my own similar game, and that's actually more likely than not. I'm going to be doing, because I've had a lot of different details and world building stuff for some things, but there's it started out as just using the format of it to make like kind of a fake RPG book game guide, but I might actually turn it into a real game. It sounds fun, and it's just another art project. I'm gonna make some little tinier like iterations first to practice it out, but it's gonna be like finding a lot of strange monsters and things, and I have a whole set of stuff kind of ready to go. Have you seen Roman Coppola movie CQ? It's one of those movies about making a movie, but the movie being made is very Barbarella. I've seen those scenes. I've seen the movie within the movie of CQ. It's really cool. I think, was it Billy Zane plays like Fidel Castro, or no, he plays like a kind of like Castro-esque or Che-esque like revolutionary on the moon or something. And there's some really cool like stuff within that movie. And then Jean-Philippe Law, he's in that as well. Looks like we're gonna have to. Mostelide, I summon thee! Oh man, we gotta fight the weasels. My wife loves weasels. I like them, they're pretty cool too, but when I first played this game, she was very unhappy that I had to kill them. I mean, the middle one is pretty sweet looking. Alright, let's see. What do I got? That one, I love the way those pieces look. Fidel Castro was once beaten at chess by an 8-year-old. Power scalers with us say an 8-year-old can beat the CIA. What do you think of Wes Anderson's style? I mean, especially since The Life Aquatic, where he's completely locked in on his very specific look. I think I really like Wes Anderson's stuff up to Moonrise Kingdom, or maybe Grand Budapest. After that, he was like really things became more and more artificial in a sense, but I think that's fine, it's his style, but I think his films got a little less interesting for me. I love Fantastic Mr. Fox, and Royal Tannenbaums is my favorite of his, I think. But I love Life Aquatic, though. That's a lot of fun. Yikes. Let's see. It's a burrito. I forgot to put him in the microwave. Well. Even that animation is a bit ominous. Yeah, I agree. Tannenbaums is the best. It's like it has just the right amount of like kind of a altered reality to it. And what Peter Berg says, kind of tired of every fantasy setting just having regular real world chess. Yeah, no, it is true. Michael Bay is Wes Anderson's Tyler Durden. Let's see. Trembling Color says, Life Aquatic always makes me want to make a non-ironic version of that world. Very C-Lab 2020 and Johnny Quest. I was just thinking like that too. I'm like, I love the style and everything, but I wish it wasn't like shot through with that kind of like ironic winking, you know, that they have to, I guess, treat stuff like referencing that period with now or since. Yeah, no, I wish there were more things that did, that just did things with sincerity. Just, drain the irony out of it. I feel like there's some vulnerability that comes with that. You tell the story and you're saying, yes, I'm getting behind it. I'm excited about it. People are. Like we're going on this adventure. I'm holding this tone. I'm not going to subvert it. I'm not going to drag it down with something or else. And to do that, you have to like put yourself up to be like called, I don't know, cringe, silly. Like there's a vulnerability that comes with that kind of storytelling. I think when, in some way. Jeez. It's like death by 1,000 cuts with this. Oh. Yikes. Come on, we can do this. Can't do any of that. Was it Peterberg says, I'm like that with Planet 51 of all movies. I want a movie like Planet 51, but not a comedy. Human astronauts stranded on a pre-space flight or medieval alien world. That's interesting. I haven't seen Planet 51. I've kind of avoided that. But that's all it has to be. Trembling Color says, the curse of the hipster. Nothing can be unironic or you might get criticized. And then what do? Shrieking violets. Yeah, just embrace it. Just, tell the story. Don't. Yeah, I never saw that. I guess it was just like by that point, I wasn't interested in some of those animated films around that time. It's like Pitch Black meets a reverse E.T. I feel like I'm gonna be very disappointed if I actually watch it, but it does sound like an interesting pitch. Oh, that's what I'm saying I want. Planet 51 is not that. It's a children's comedy animated movie. Yeah. I'm trying to think of if there's a book like that. Oh, finally. There he goes. Now I gotta deal with the Mustellis. Somsnos is dead. Oh, how could I let this happen? I don't even have a warm burrito to bring her back. They're sneaky little devils. Man, this is gonna be close. Let's see. Aliens weren't alien enough. It was weird to see an American astronaut interacting with little green men whose culture was indistinct from 50s Americana. Trembling Color says, kind of related, but I'd love if Planet of the Apes there was a more Bronze Age, crazy pagan Old Testament world where humans had to fight to not be sacrificed. Yeah, that would have been crazy. I know originally it was like going to be like a look like contemporary Earth, but I guess because of budget and everything, they had to scale that down. Some more. Oh, it's always satisfying when I was like when you come out of it, even if just barely. Getting all this money. Artificial bicep. Ooh, the TV. Detonation. Oh, that's a good one. Oh, and a toilet. Some bad juju. I gotta get to a bed. I think, what was it? Yeah, I was doing, I might as well mention this because it occupied me, and it's going to be occupying me for, I think for indefinitely, but I'm sort of now enacting like a project where I'm trying to acquire some books and things that I used to have at my old the libraries in both of the colleges I went to, and both of them no longer exist. So I went to and I'm not talking about all the books. The books that there were specific books that I would always check out, but I don't know about this. And I recently, a couple years ago, Delaware College of Art and Design and University of the Arts, which you might have heard of University of the Arts closing down in Philly, because that was like a huge thing, because there were just, a lot of students there who suddenly were like, just good luck. Like that one was a bigger kind of mess too, because of all the, frankly, there was some really shady stuff going on behind the scenes there. But basically, both schools that I went to, both colleges closed within a week of each other. And it's like, DCAD just had dwindling enrollment. They had, basically some government subsidies, which was not a great idea in the long run, especially when when things get tight. The first thing on the chopping block are the arts. But my immediate thought when I heard the news was, what is going to happen to the libraries? Because DCAD had the biggest art library in Delaware, and the U Arts library, I think also probably, I don't know what some of the other colleges had, but they had an amazing one too, and that one fortunately got bought up by another institution, like wholesale, I think. So all those books are fine, but unfortunately, recently, the building that DCAD was in was bought by another by a company that's going to turn it into, and it's this really cool Art Deco building, but they're going to turn it into apartments because of course they are. But the library, I kept asking, I kept trying to find out what's happening to the library books. And I get these little, flashes of information or little vague things because it's just so impenetrable. I saw, the Delaware Historical Society, they got the shelves from the DCAD library but they didn't get the books. Like, what happened to the books? So I see these photos. They moved the books off the shelves. The books are now leaning against the walls. Okay, I'm like, great. They're just up there. Then I find out that some friends I know had actually gone in there, and somehow they got in there, and they just grabbed what they could and got out. And it was like, it just felt like, you know, things were being demolished up there, and it just didn't feel safe. And they got the stuff, but some stuff. But it, you know, I didn't know about this. I found out a week later. I immediately ran over because I live close to where DCAD was, and the door was open. I ran right in, and there's a construction worker who's like walking towards me, and I walk up to him, and I ask him, like, you know, and he just tells me, it's like, you can't even go up there. It's not even safe, and it's cleared out. It's gone. And like, and as I'm leaving the building, right by the front door is just a little stack of like some architecture books, like nothing really interesting. And I'm like, just like, that's it. Like, it's like they threw out, or as far as I know, they just junked like thousands of these art books. And it was like somebody died. Like, it was like somebody just, I went in the hospital and like they just told me somebody died. Like, this is, you know, it felt like that kind of numbingness where it's on that level, you know, where this is irreplaceable. There were a lot of memories there, and there was so much like interaction you have with it. You were discovering things about the library still. Like, this was, you know, in a way, a library is kind of like a person, not entirely, but, and so to just suddenly be deprived of that, and that it was cast aside so callously almost by the board, you know, they didn't decide to do anything, reach out to anybody. The friends who saved some books, they gave me some of the books, so there was some comics related stuff, like some Graphis magazine, so, you know, they're mementos now, and I'm glad I have something, but it was like that's just a travesty. Like, that was and so that it's gonna haunt me too, because I'm like, you know, if only I'd known, if only I'd been able to run in there, and like I could have say I knew exactly what I would have saved, and but I can't. So it's, these things happen, but it seems like they happen more frequently now. So, you know, be discerning, and I would say be discerning if you have a collection. Collect what you love, but, you know, make sure it's protected and stuff, because we're kind of entering, I don't know, like, it feels like a dark age in a way. Yeah, and yeah, the thing is, it's like, I was like, you know, thinking to myself, okay, what books did I really like checking out there? And it turns out, like, one of them, I made a list of them, and so I'm gonna slowly try and track them down, at least to get like my favorites and stuff, you know. But it's man, they had like all the DVDs for Richard Williams' Animator Survival Kit, like those lectures. They had the box set that Yoshitaka Amano, The Sky, which was like all of his Final Fantasy artwork. You know, just all, like so many things. It's just, you're gone. Just, we're gonna throw it out. So, yeah. Now, if like that immediately like turns me into an archivist, but you know, in a way, like more so than I was. Let me see, the Trembling Colors says, I hate that people do that. They throw out books, thrift them, or sell them at low prices to stores. They could have gotten a lot of money out of the books on eBay if at least they just took the time. Well, yeah, I mean, I would have preferred having a shot at that, saving some, because, but yeah, the fact that they threw them out, and then thrift them, like, I would hope that, like, somebody in a thrift store would have, like, you know, would grab some, like, I hope at least that would have happened, but I'm not sure at this point. And playing by the rules just doesn't work against something like that. surely your university account has a record of which books you checked out. It's probably long defunct, the account for that. And I made a list. I remembered like some of my favorites, so I'm not gonna like drive myself crazy trying to like get every little one. It's just so hard to believe that a library would throw out all its books without any protest from the librarians. Well, I was in contact with the librarian, and I remember asking her, and she was just kind of like out of the loop, essentially. Like she was like let go pretty quickly, so it was just a pretty lousy situation for everybody. Yeah, and yeah, that made me a little like just a little crazy for last week, because it was just like, man, like what are we gonna do with? I don't think I'm gonna do that yet. Yeah, like what are we gonna do with the things are being taken away, but like what's replacing them? Like we gotta, at least hang on to some good stuff and share it too. That's the important part. Like, was it Trembling Color says that's what happened to all the paintings that were used for pulp magazine covers. Stret and Smith, one of the big ones, went under and just threw nearly all those paintings in the dumpster out back. The surviving ones, of course, are worth thousands. Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of which, I live like really close to the Delaware Art Museum, and so I that's in Wilmington as well. So I went over there, and they have like, where am I going? They have, you can set up an appointment to go there. It's like a research library, but it's at least like there is something else, another institution nearby like that, and they have all of Illustration magazine. Like they have pretty much all the issues, and it's just chock full of reproductions of the original pulp art and all kinds of other stuff like that. And just getting to go through that is, not taking that for granted for sure. And it's always a treat, Plus I can scan things too when I'm there. So there's still certain things, but these kind of vanishing institutions, kind of like leaving a vacuum. I bought a few dozen issues of Analog magazine from a used bookstore once. I wish I had bought more of them. They were going for so cheap. Oh gosh, yeah. Like, if you have an opportunity like that, it's if you can, it's best to take advantage of that. If you're able to like preserve and store things properly. Whoa. Oh, I got to see some original Virgil Finlay stuff recently. There was an exhibit at the University of Delaware, and it was all one guy's collection, and he had collected over the years a ton of science fiction and fantasy artwork. It was like so many different eras represented. You had for Zeta, you had a Frank Schoonover, his like Princess of Mars cover, and then you had up to like Brothers Hildebrandt and Michael Whalen, one of the Hildebrandt brothers, like the painting of the Balrog and Gandalf. Like you had the original there, and it's pretty big. And then there were some Frank R. Paul cover illustrations, and then there was some Virgil Finlay, which when you see that stuff up close and you realize, oh yeah, he did this on scratchboard, it's like it's insane. All right, let's see the deal with these guys. The city thing in the background kind of reminds me of the one from Barbarella. Oh. Peterberg says, sending you some indie animation, by the way. Cool, I will check that out later. Oh, and speaking of rescuing books, though, something that could have been another disaster a couple of years ago, that wasn't. So, when my uncle's mother passed away, they were going through her house, and my aunt asked me to come over and see if there's take some bookshelves, and I was like, oh yeah, sure, I could use some more bookshelves. And I go over there, and I find that there is basically, like my uncle's mother had collected, not hoarded, like very deliberately collected hundreds of fantasy and science fiction paperbacks. And it was a treasure trove, and let me actually, I'm just gonna bring up the pictures I took of it, because this was unbelievable. Let me see, how do I bring this up? One second. Yeah, so this was the these were the shelves that greeted me as I came in. And you know, I was gobsmacked. Of course, this was like you know, I can't even believe what I'm looking at. And my aunt was just like, just take whatever you want, and boy, I sure did. We were making multiple trips over the next week or so. There were also some vintage computer games that we also had, that we grabbed a bunch of. It was, we gave some to friends, but these were some of the books that I grabbed that I saved specifically for myself. So you had a bunch of the Lee Brackett's, the Edgar Rice Burroughs, a whole bunch of Michael Moorcock, including all of the original run of the Daw Elric paperbacks, and all of these were in pristine condition. Mostly just mostly unread, at least. Yeah, and I just I'm still reading through a lot of them. I've read a lot of these already, and you know, I made a point, if I'm going to take all these books, I'm going to read, through them. I read Last and First Men. I hope to get to a Neuromancer soon. Hang on a second. Let me see the chat. Issues a bit of this. Sorry. Trembling Colors Finlay is a guy, if he'd been born a few decades later, would have been the king of heavy metal magazine, even over Moebius or Drouillet. Yeah. It's always wild when you find something like that out. You wish you'd known, because you would have talked about it with them. Yeah. I never got to meet my my uncle's parents. Burroughs loves some ERB and Moorcock. Yeah, I haven't read any Burroughs yet, but the Moorcock that I did read so far was pretty interesting. It was fun. Oh yeah, read that copy of 1884. Yeah, that one was. I liked the look of that one. Yeah, and there was so much more. These were the first batch that I took. Yeah, so and the Philip K. Dick also was pretty surprising. And I've gotten into Tanith Lee lately. Stuff I heard that I've read has been excellent. Shrek, Dream Snake was pretty good. Haven't read any of the Zelani yet, but I'm keen to get onto that. Snow Crash is pretty good. Okay, cool. Yeah, I felt like it was one of those times where it's like I can't hold on to everything. I have to be, a bit choosy. Where Late Sweetbirds Sang, I had already read, but that's a really nice cover, and it was like immaculate. So I started reading Dragon's Egg, and it was I had to quit because it was just so. It took an interesting concept and just like squeezed out any sense of like wonder and replaced it with like just jargon and too much science because the author is a physicist, so it was kind of a joyless go. But yeah, and there were other boxes of books that I had taken as well. Also, I didn't even know that there was a Dark Star novelization. Yeah, and Burroughs is such fun, quick reads. He knew how to keep a story moving. Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to getting to at least reading the first John Carter. The Midwich Cuckoo seems cool, but is that Village of the Damned is based on? Yeah, it is. And that cover for it too is pretty crazy. Yeah, Plague Ship I read already. That was really good. Solid, it's not like the most. Andre Norton writes good stuff. Like it's, you don't. It's not forgettable, but it's like it's pretty good, somewhat pulpy stuff. Dinosaur Beach I hear is good. The Man in the Maze, which I read, was very good. And then there were also Earth of the New Sun, and then the Book of the Long Sun. So those were split up over that. So those were like the initial batch that I got. I was pretty excited about, and so we loaded up on so many other books, and there was stuff that like I knew was really good, but I didn't think I'd ever read it, so I took it to my my local or my not local, but my favorite used bookstore, and I just said, hey, I'm just gonna like, if you want to take what you want, go through these. And I got like a ton of store credit because there was a lot of, popular books, and there was a lot of Asimov, like pretty much like new, a lot of Daw stuff. I'm really not into Asimov at all. I tried reading Foundation years ago, and it was really not my thing. But, so naturally I was like, I'm not, I gotta at least send the rest of these books off somewhere where they're gonna belong. Let's see. There was an episode of Voyager that was basically Dragon's Egg, planet that spins way too fast, worships the sun as a god. Well, I'm sure that, like, at least compress into a Voyager episode. I'd probably check that out. Cover makes me think of how weird Britain was in the 60s, 70s, stuff like The Avengers and The Prisoner. I love The Avengers and The Prisoner. I was thinking about both of those today. All right, well, we're getting away from Hylics here, but that's okay. Prisoner. I need to revisit that. It's been a few years since I've watched it. But there's and every time I watch it, I get something else out of it. It's one of those, and one of those shows where you go, I can't believe they made this back at all. It's also got one of the best final episodes ever. A lot of shows I like have really crazy final episodes too, like the original Twin Peaks, Evangelion, and like the Prisoner also just flies off the rails and probably has the best use of a Beatles song in a movie ever, or a TV show ever. Oh my goodness. These guys aren't fun. I did see Twin Peaks: The Return. I have some very mixed feelings about it. It's there was a lot of stuff I liked in it, and there was stuff that, you know, I don't know if I watched it again. I don't know if I want to watch it again. There's some stuff in there that was just really unpleasant. In ways that, like, I didn't really find, like, I haven't really. Other David Lynch movies are kind of like that, but like in this one, it just felt like the hope, the like kind of goodness was drained out of it, and I guess that's the point. But in a lot of ways, I'm kind of just like, that's the point isn't good enough sometimes in terms of like ending a story like that or doing it. I think you kind of betray, I don't know, just something. Now I really loved the stuff with Dougie Jones, and like the family like that he kind of has, but the I'm just gonna go for attack. Been a while since I've seen The Afterlife. In Lynch's Swan Song, there's no redemption, unfortunately. Yeah, that was the biggest thing. You know, and I feel like kind of redemption got slowly sort of drained out of his films, like, over time. Like, after Fire Walk With Me, you know, it became less and less clear, and then kind of got sucked out, and you know, yeah, but you know, I might watch it again. I might, you know, just to be able to refresh myself, because there's a lot of memorable stuff in there. But let's see, do you subscribe to the theory that the prisoner protagonist is the same character from the earlier show Danger Man Secret Agent? Yeah, I wonder if, I mean, it makes sense. I don't think it interferes with any way of like viewing the show either. But I wonder if Patrick McGowan even commented on that. Like, I feel like I have a memory of him doing so. Was it? Peter Berg says Lynch's work strikes me as subversive for subversion's sake rather than for thematic purposes. I thought that, and that's kind of what, like, when I was in like college, like one professor was like saying, he was showing us Blue Velvet, but then I watched Blue Velvet and it's like, well, no, it does kind of like think like you think it's going into subversion, but then really it's like it's talking about like Jeffrey's character. He wants to go into that darkness, and then, you know, it's kind of saying like, oh, look what's underneath the surface of the white picket fence, like neighborhood and whatnot. And it's kind of like saying like, yeah, there's darkness and stuff there, but there's also like light, and there's goodness, and you know, Jeffrey has regrets about like diving into that, and in a way, like, instead of like it being like Jeffrey embracing like like you would, I don't know, if it was like a Tim Burton character or something, like embracing like the twisted side or something. No, it's like this is consequences, and he's like really traumatized by it in one scene you can see. And so and by the end it's like very sincerely kind of like, yeah, like fleeing all that stuff. So yeah, I don't, yeah, I mean, I can, like, other later stuff, I don't know, but like Blue Velvet definitely has that. But maybe I'm underthinking it, but Inland Empire is basically just living in an apartment sucks. Oh man, we watched the entire thing in a class one time. Gosh, that was, yeah. People often read Blue Velvet so wrongly. Yeah, they really do. I you know, they just, I don't know, people read, you know, what they want to, but I think it's pretty clear if you like, you know, see where the characters, the trajectories go. They want it to be a nobody is pure message, but it's not at all. Even Twin Peaks isn't that either, at least not the original 2 seasons. Oh, I actually beat them, okay. We got dynamite too. Oh gosh, oh gosh. No. No. Forget which one this is. Oh, I love this one. I love that animation. Mystic Meat. But man, I need some health and restoration. What is it? Yeah. Yeah, David Lynch moved to LA and went full doom and gloom. Yeah, I mean, I have never been to LA, but I'm not really anxious to. Maybe Northern California, but oh, that's right. Yeah, I need to get Samsnosen to see the this TV. Yeah, I got introduced to The Prisoner when I was like in high school because we had a local library that had an amazing selection of movies, and they had all The Prisoner. And so I watched, you know, I went through it, and yeah, that was. I still watch it, you know, now to this day. I was very fortunate in high school that I somehow stumbled upon her. You know, I always feel like, you know, God sends like angel of discovery or just somebody to like nudge some of these things in my direction at the prime moment. In high school, like I found a copy of At the Mountains of Madness in the library and read it and was like changed. By it, and then same with The Prisoner, and also I always remember when I first saw Metropolis, the Fritz Lang Metropolis, because we rented it from the library, and I'd never watched a whole silent film before, at least nothing like that long, and yeah, that was like it blew me away. Especially the music was so great, And then later that night, I watched the anime one, the Rintaro Metropolis, which is good, but different. But it's but yeah, no, there were times when I was just like that discovery period when there was so much new stuff out there. You know, and then YouTube also at the time. I watched so much stuff on YouTube that was that was just there. Like you could just see all these different movies, you know, split up into like 10 parts or so. But that's how I found a lot of anime. Let's see. Kaiju Master says, I've shown a friend of mine Metropolis last year. He loved it so much he bought the book. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there was a novelization by Theo von Harbu. There's a series of Dutch escape room flash games called Rusty Lake that are heavily inspired by Twin Peaks. And among puzzle games, they're very symbolic rather than literal. They're all right. Okay. This game is very liquid TV at its best. Trembling Color said. Kaiju Master says, I've shown the anime version to another friend who's obsessed with it. Yeah, there were things I wish I pushed into more, like I guess I don't know, reaching out to like artists or people I admired, like, or just kind of finding like some instruction, at that age. But a lot of, there were a lot of things that kind of discovered early on. Oh, forgot to get some burritos. Fifth Element would make a decent anime, Peter Berg says, but like something in that setting, not just the plot of the movie over again. Yeah, no, that was, yeah, it's got some really cool stuff in it. And I don't want to assume, but I think, like, you would think Mobius, like, had some input or something on that film. Or unless they were just kind of heavily inspired by some of his stuff. Fifth Element is basically a loose adaptation of the Incal. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, you know what? I could see that. That's great. Honestly, I would. I'd much prefer if that was the only adaptation we ever got of the Incal. To be honest, the time has passed for these things. I think because any adaptation of a beloved book or something is really going to get put through the ringer aesthetically and tonally. Yeah, I think there's just too much interference, not the right mindset anymore for that. Alright, let's see, I'm gonna think of one more thing to do before I might wrap this up. Let's see what's going on down underneath. Let's see, I went to see a Transformers version of Crank where the main character is the bus from Speed. Funny. And the guy who was supposed to make it is the worst guy possible. Oh, yeah, you're talking about the Waititi guy? It'd be nothing but quips and awkward humor like the awful Thor sequels. Yeah, all they have to do really is just kind of stick to the comic. I mean, that's what they say every time. It's like but I feel like the Incal has a very the narrative is very clear, and it's also like, it's simple in a way, and I think, it needs to operate on the very intuitive level, which Jodorowsky stuff really does. I don't want to fight more of these guys. And that's what, like, I think I've taken away from Jodorowsky's stuff, is just kind of like, letting symbolism happen and just telling stories on an intuitive level, and just also the really wild, extreme things that happen in it. But I think the easier route just to make movies about the various meta-barons. Oh man, let me tell you, I like I love the Incal, but Meta Barons is a lot better. Juan Jimenez art for that is honestly just on a whole other level, and it's consistent throughout the entire book. It's over 400 pages, 500, I don't know how many pages. It's unbelievable. And then the story is so engrossing. It just has so much mythic gravitas to things going on, and by the end there's just this fantastic character payoff with the Meta Baron. It's wonderful. I reread it every couple of years, but again, I would really be wary if ever it got adapted. Alright, let's see. Let me see. It was meant to be that it didn't get to make Dune because it gave us all-time great comics. Yeah, that is the consolation of that project falling through. Here, hold on. When the battle's over, I'll bring up something else because I have another very interesting detour that relates to Jodorowsky's Dune. Okay. Nuts. Oh man, so let's see if I put... Oh yeah, now I've got Mystic Meat, so that's Alright. There we go. Alright. I just want to get down. Nuts. Whew. The Sage of Computers, that's right. Grant my token. Sage's token. Seek my siblings, the Sage of Brains and the Sage of Death. They will also give you tokens, for therein lies the path to enlightenment. Is there anything else in here? Okay, yeah, there's something else I want to show you in a second. So, I used to be an art handler, which was a very interesting job. And we would there was a lot of stuff in the warehouse where we worked, a lot of very interesting things in crates. You kind of never knew what you were going to look at one day to the next. And there were all kinds of there were all kinds of boxes, like you name it, like these painters, like, you know, I'm not gonna say where I worked, but it was like Picasso, there was some Basquiat. I mean, I'm not really a fan of Basquiat, but it was like, you know, there was a lot of surrealists. Like there was one day where we were hanging stuff like that were surrealists all in the viewing room. And it was just like, you know, our own little mini surrealist exhibit, you know, for some of the clients and stuff. And then we would go up to clients' houses and places, and oftentimes it was like, you know, penthouses in New York City and, you know, mansions and stuff. And like, oh, here we're picking up a Winston Churchill painting and taking it to somebody's house to install in their home and stuff like this. But and I'm trying to find this picture so I can lead into it. One day we were getting a shipment. We were getting a package coming in, and my boss says, "Oh yeah, it's something like a manuscript or something for Dune." And I was like, "What? That's like what, Frank Herbert's like manuscript or something?" And then he said, he kind of corrects himself. He's like, "Oh yeah, it's like the storyboards or something." And I just like, I flipped, and it shows up in this little crate, and I'm just like asking about this, and he tells me this. Oh yeah, these guys bought, like these crypto guys bought a copy of like the Dune storyboard book, and whatnot, and then I find out that this is, you might have heard about this story where a bunch of crypto guys like paid through the nose like $3 million for the like for this book, because even though like the bidding for it was like in the hundreds of thousands range, but like and then there was this whole thing where like, oh, we're gonna make an animated series, we're gonna fund this with it, like, oh, never mind rights and licensing and anything to do with that. It just became like kind of just, and then they're like, oh no, we're gonna like scan all the pages, turn all the pages into NFTs, and then burn the book. I really hope that was a joke, but like they were getting raked over the coals, but nonetheless they bought the book. It was being shipped to the US, and it came to our warehouse, and I kept asking my boss, I was like, are we gonna look at it, or do we get to look at this thing? And finally one day he said, like, yeah, the client wants us to do like a video of a flip through of it. So I was just like, and that actually was like my was one of the last things I did there. But it was I just sat there. I had cloth gloves and everything, and I just sat there and just flipped through every single page of the book. I got to read through the entire Dune book. I got to read through all the storyboards. It was fantastic, and really, like, as I'm the storyboards are so good. Even if it's just Mobius, just like doodling, not even doodling, but you know, like little, just very loose, very simple stuff. You can see it in your head. You can see the movie, and if you've seen like The Holy Mountain and Jodorowsky's other films, like you can kind of imagine what it would have looked like. You can kind of fill it in, and like the lighting and kind of the sets and stuff. And I'm reading through this, and like, and I'm trying to find on my computer, because I actually like, I have some pictures from the like that I took from it. Like he conceived of he conceived of like battle scenes in a way I've never thought of before. There were also like, you know, sketches of like the different characters, concept designs. There was even this one section where they were basically putting forth like a proof of concept of how one of the sets was going to be laid out. Yeah, and it was I got it. Okay. I found it. Okay, one second. As I share this. Alright, and voila. You can see that, hopefully. Okay, yeah. So well, so that's the funny thing too, is eventually they just like sold the book because they couldn't do anything with it. And I'm just thinking, hey, thanks for spending $3 million so I could look through the book, you chumps. So yeah, there's the book. And you know, it's just really like glossy pages for some of the color artwork, and the storyboards and everything. Just you could really just sense it. You could imagine it. You could just see all the stuff that was going to happen, and you know, you could at least had this in your head. Like you could. I felt like I kind of like watched through the movie in my head. This was very interesting too. This was like a festival on, you know, of all these different kind of like groups of like on Arrakis, and this is an overhead shot of all these divided sections that were going to be like these different guilds or something, and at some point I think like Duke Leto requests that these partitions be removed so that the different groups can mingle together. And then here's part of the Harkonnen castle. Yeah, so this is like the industrialists, like this section, and then here are the pirates. So there was like a whole pirates like festival going on, and then this is like the master plan of the balls, or the just and his story, the storyboards are so clear and so concise. Duke Leto says, "Let us join, respect my government, and Dune will be respected." And there's like, I love the cartooniness on the pirate. Yeah, so you've got the cast. There's Dali. Although even if the movie did get made, Dali wouldn't have been in it because Jodorowsky apparently actually rescinded his offer for Dali to be in it because Dali came out vocally supporting Franco, and that's a whole other mess. And then this is interesting too. The spice searchers, they have this little like sandworm, kind of like a Chinese dragon sort of thing going on, where they're all underneath this, like moving around underneath it. And you could just imagine there's like casks of beer or spice wine or spice beer or something. And this is fascinating. So I think this is a scene representing the transmutation of the water of life, and like down at the molecular level. So it would have been like maybe some animation or something, like it says molecule of glucose and complete chain of molecules, and I mean, who knows? But it's that's the thing too. In the Jodorowsky's Dune documentary, they keep saying, like, this one guy says, like, I don't know how they would have done it in 75 or 70 whatever, like given the technology at the time. Well, I'm like, oh, ye of little imagination. Like, we have Dan O'Bannon working out this stuff, and this is pre-digital like era, so the ingenuity would have just been flowing just freely. Like, they would have come up with all kinds of wild solutions, like, as if it had, like, it had to be like done as realistically as possible. There would have been amazing. It would have been poetic. It would have been all those sorts of things. But this is very interesting. Color of process, coagula, solvent, dimming green, this latter color emerging from core that is like, I don't even know what's like, all this stuff really meant. But then you have some other great sketches of the Baron. And then this was pretty awesome. So this is a battle scene from above. It says Harkonnen army, then the Fremen pierce in like this, and they advance, and then leaves only dead people behind. So as they go over, there's just the dead Harkonnen left, and then another Harkonnen army in a different formation, pierced by a new Fremen army. The Fremen come around, encircling them, and then they just like close in, and it says annihilation. And there's just like other things, like using the patterns like of above. It just amazing. You can see how fantastic that would have been. They've got stuff with the sandworms. Oh yeah, and then this so this is a whole set design. I don't know what this would have been. Cavern. Okay, so maybe like under the Fremen cavern or something. So you've got like all the dimensions, you got some steps, you got this, and then this little thing, this is like a cyclorama, which is like this large circular backdrop to kind of simulate a horizon and perspective. So that's what this is. That's what that would have looked like standing up. So that's what that is. And basically at that distance, you know, kind of, again, I think that's what that is. You know, there's not as many notes to go off of, but and here's another set. I think this is the set where Duke Leto is being tortured by the Baron. Yeah. And that's it. That's at least that's what I took pictures of, because yeah. So that's figured I'd share that, and I think that's a good place to end the stream. You know, I'm glad enjoyed playing Hylics, but you know, there's always some other fun stuff. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll definitely be doing some more streams in the future. So thanks Peter, and coming in, and Trembling Colors, and Kaiju Master. Yeah. And I'll be doing another stream soon, maybe the Forbidden Planet one. There's another one I'm going to do about the fiasco that was the Jerry Goldsmith Companion Kickstarter. That's a very interesting saga, but till then, yeah, thanks for stopping by, and have a